All right, guys, we're back. Southeastern 16 on a Monday in SEC football season. Normally used to seeing me and Max Barr on a Wednesday as we do our weekly show. We do our other videos throughout the week. But, of course, this one called for an emergency live stream here at Southeastern 16 presented by our friends at FanDuel because Bruce Pearl is reportedly set to retire as Auburn head coach. Stephen Pearl, no surprise, is going to be taking over as the coach moving forward, it seems.
Yep.
And we will get to all your thoughts and all that good stuff on Bruce Pearl's decision here. Max, the timing is interesting. As you and I noted literally a week ago, we had a mailbag question from the one and only Sam Smith. And I'd be surprised if he does not hop in the stream. But Sam asked us the question. He said, is Bruce Pearl or Rick Barnes going to retire first? And I think the answer we settled on was Bruce Pearl. I don't think we settled on an answer being next week. I don't think at any point we said that. But we did pretty much, I think, make it to the point of where we thought, hey, this is probably the last season if it's going to play out this way. And it seemed like things were heading in that direction. I'm sure there'll be plenty will come out, as to the timing and everything and why this move was made now. I'm going to give you a reason in a second why I think that was. But your initial thoughts on Bruce Pearl retiring, and don't worry, folks, we will get into the entire run for Bruce Pearl there at Auburn.
Yeah, I'm right here with Dwayne. Wow, that is a shocker. Not Bruce Pearl himself retiring, just the timing of it all, Blake. How could we have ever expected this was when he was going to retire? It sets his son up very nicely, which could be a play into the timing. I do know that Bruce just put out, it was 8 minutes ago, he just put out a video, a 15-minute video on the Auburn account. I made it 4 minutes in, and Bruce was already crying. So I'm sure it was a tough video for him to make, a tough announcement. Definitely had the rumors, swirling, Blake. It was out there, especially after the historic season, the historic team that he had last year, the best regular season team, the best conference of all time, Final Four, the second of which he took Auburn to. Man, it's a blow. It's a blow. It really felt like in a lot of ways he was the face of Auburn athletics, just with how outspoken on social media he was. And, it felt like every time you're opening up your social media app in some way, shape, or form, you're seeing Bruce Pearl. It's going to take some getting used to, for sure.
All right, so I know this video is 14 minutes long. We're not going to play the entire video, but do you think we could maybe pull it up to where when he starts speaking, which I think is about, looking at it now, it's a little bit into it, but I think it'd be good to get some audio here and maybe some visuals for the people. If they're not on Twitter right now, they can watch it through this if they would like. I feel like he really starts to get into talking a bit around the 30-second or so mark, Max. We can check it out. You guys know that we're doing this on the fly, so you will understand, but I think it would be valuable for this discussion to have that in there. So let's just... you guys give us 1 second. We're going to try to pull this up.
Pull it up.
And we'll see if we can play this for you, because I think this would be good for the discussion here. And if you're listening on audio, obviously you're not seeing the video after the fact, but this will at least give you something you can go check out. But I think it would be nice just to have it as sort of the setting for this conversation here.
Not sure. Let me see if I make it full screen. What does that look like for you? Does that work?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That is?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if I play it, do you have audio?
No audio. Try the other setting, and we'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. No.
You don't have audio?
Nah. It's fine. We'll give it a shot here in just a second. We'll play around with it. All right. Let's get back to you guys here for just a second. And again, we'll put the link in here too. I mean, all you got to do is go check it out. But that's all right. These are emergency streams. You guys understand. We're going to try to give you the best we can here. But,
we're rattled too, folks. We're rattled as well.
Yeah, was not expecting to be doing this stream today. A big Monday in Southeastern 16 world with SEC football. But all right, so you said something, and don't worry, I promise. Leave your super chats, comments. We'll get to all of them. I promise. Donovan had a great story earlier. We'll get to that, Donovan. You know we will. You had a $1.99 super chat saying thank you, Bruce. War Eagle, God bless. And we'll get to a really, I think, noteworthy story from Donovan shortly. But you mentioned setting up Stephen Pearl and how that could factor into the timing. I mean, to me, that's a big part of this, right? Because what other choice do you have? You're Auburn, right? I mean, and that's not a knock on Stephen Pearl. It's just like, hey, if you're going to do this and you're Bruce Pearl, absolutely. Like the timing works great because then, look, you've been there. You've kind of been able to oversee this offseason for them. You've been able to probably allow him to be in those positions where he is overseeing some of that too. And it's kind of that, a little bit more of a comfortable entrance into this position. Whereas, let's say after this season, Max, the day after he retires or something, well, all of a sudden, what's going to happen, right? All of a sudden, you think about personnel, you think about all that stuff, and just how that becomes a big challenge. And so I think the timing of it makes total sense. I think, again, everyone kind of benefits from it. You figured, as we said, I think you were talking at most maybe another season for Bruce Pearl, and it just seemed like the momentum was headed towards him retiring. But yes, I mean, I think this is the best opportunity and puts Stephen Pearl in the best position to be successful, whereas the timing elsewhere, it would have been rough. And even with all the success they've had there, even with it being a Pearl as the head coach, like it's still, we know how that works when it comes to the transfer portal. Opposing coaches can say this, they can do that, like all those things, right? And so I just think, it's it's kind of, the timing makes complete sense to me. So
yeah, if you look at Stephen Pearl, been with Auburn since 2014, started as assistant strength and conditioning coach, then moved up to director of basketball ops, then assistant coach from 17 to 23, associate head coach past 2 years. Now, not an interim, Blake. There's no interim tag. This is head coach right away. Head coach Stephen Pearl right away. There's no interim process that's going to be had here. I think it opens like two conversations almost. You have on one side, nobody is going to understand the Auburn culture that has been built over the Bruce Pearl era better than Stephen. No one's going to be able to continue those traditions better than Stephen. But at the same time, he's never won a game as a head coach in college basketball. And this is the best league in the country. So there's a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure very quick. But if this is the timing and this is what Bruce wanted, it seems as if Bruce believes that Stephen is ready.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I think it's, you kind of know it's not the same, but you're the same terminologies, the same kind of things that have made you successful, and, Stephen has been there for the ride. So, I think that, like I said, it's just something that makes total sense, and if you're going to do it, now is probably the time. And we said coming to the season, let's call it what it is. I mean, this was going to be a bit of a difference for Bruce Pearl from last season's team. I mean, if you're really thinking about it, right, your swan song at Auburn, I mean, it's going to be hard to top last year, just in terms of the team that they built, making the run to the Final Four. Sure, you didn't get the national championship, those kind of things, but man, we'll talk about kind of the trajectory of Auburn basketball since he took over here in a second. But I think that still, you probably could not have thought of a better sort of ending if you were him. Again, minus losing in the Final Four. I get all that. But to kind of cap off a career like that, and now having someone like your son who's been by your side for all this time, he's played for you, he knows all of those little things that have made, you a successful coach in the SEC because he's been right there. I think that's why this thing, again, everybody will have different opinions, and I think we can look at previous history and say, well, that situation didn't work out the way maybe they thought it would. But the opportunity is there, and I think that's the biggest part of this, is that you're giving Stephen Pearl a chance, and there's probably no one other than Bruce Pearl who would like to do that opportunity more. And so, it does make sense. So,
yeah, wow, it's crazy. Brian just commented my exact thought. it may be a long, now not exact, but it may be a long time, if ever, that Auburn returns to that glory. You just got to think that, I mean, for 80% of the season, before Duke went on that tear to finish the season, we were talking about Auburn's analytics as the best ever in the history of college basketball analytics. Like, since an incredible team. So to the point of, man, maybe you didn't win the national championship, but my gosh, guys, you want to talk about going out on a high note, going out on a route with Janai Broom and Chaney Johnson and some of the JUCO guys that you found and developed. I mean, last year's team was like Bruce Pearl personified. The Cardwell, all the Cardwell celebrations at home court. I mean, that team last year was Bruce Pearl. That was his personality out on the basketball court. So, does it come abrupt and right before the season? Not when we were expecting it. Yes, and it's going to take a little while to process. This is definitely not hitting me all at once yet. But it is going to make sense, I think, looking back in hindsight, like, wow, yeah, that was a special group, and it does kind of make sense. You'd want to, end on that note.
All right, we're going to get into Bruce's legacy at Auburn, all those things. We're going to answer your questions. And trust me, again, guys, we will get to your questions. We are starring them here on the back end. We'll get back to them, but we're just giving you our initial thoughts. This is a breaking news situation. So we will get to all of your stuff here over the next little bit as we discuss everything going on with Bruce Pearl retiring as Auburn head coach. Story from Donovan, I think we got to throw in here from earlier. Donovan says, let me tell you guys how much Bruce Pearl means to me. My dad had cancer in remission now, God bless, and Bruce Pearl reached out to him. Never knew him before, and he stayed in touch. And Bruce, during the thick of basketball season, would ask my dad all the time how things are going, and he was so gracious and kind. He even stayed in touch after he was in remission, and this was during Auburn's Final Four run in 2019. Absolute legend, true Auburn man, and a great guy, WDE. So, great story there from Donovan. And look, I mean, we know what we do here, Max, in terms of everybody's going to have a different opinion of Bruce Pearl, whether you're an Auburn fan or you're not an Auburn fan. There are going to be differences when it comes to that. But again, I can tell you, too, just from my personal experiences, I mean, gosh, I don't know. I probably met Bruce, man, what has that been? Probably 17, 18 years or so ago now. It's when he was still at Tennessee. My dad was really good friends with Pat Summitt, and so we'd be up there a lot. And, Bruce and Pat are there at the same time. And again, even back then, I can remember talking to Bruce, and we're talking about fishing and all this other stuff, and it's just like random stuff outside of basketball, right? And I'll say this too, like, you see this show we're doing here right now, it's an SEC basketball show, and you guys have seen it over the years, like, evolve in terms of how much more coverage there is out there for SEC basketball. Look, I've been doing this for, 8-9 years now in terms of just doing SEC basketball kind of year-round while doing some other things. But I'll be honest, one of the first people who helped launch, I think, my SEC basketball platform and probably the Southeastern 16 platform pretty well from the start is Bruce Pearl. Like, he used to share the stuff we're doing all the time because that was him, right? Max, very always promoting his program, but always also promoting the SEC too. And I think that's been one of the important things over the years. And again, we'll talk about the individual Auburn success, but I mean, this was a coach too that we know had no problem going out promoting, and it wasn't just always Auburn. It was just kind of the rise of SEC basketball. And within a world where SEC football is dominated, that's not been an easy thing to do, but the league has gotten better and better. I think Bruce has been one of those people kind of at the forefront of making sure that so many people know it. And I think last year was a good kind of representation of that, just of the league getting to 14 teams, the NCAA tournament, and all those things. So, so I mean, again, I think that's a big part of it too. Is hey, I'm not gonna lie and say, because I think that Bruce has done a lot for SEC basketball coverage as well in this league. So,
I'm posing a question to the chat here. I'm wondering, what was if you can try to remember back, what was your introduction to Bruce Pearl? When did you learn and experience who he is? Because for me personally, as a bit of a younger guy, 2011, 2010, his last years at Tennessee, I'm 10 years old. I don't really have too fond of, like, I don't have great memories of Bruce at Tennessee. I don't really remember watching him there. My personal introduction to Bruce was that year before the Final Four at Auburn. That I think it was the third year at Auburn when he takes that Bryce Brown squad into the national relevance. That was really when I'm like, okay, I like this guy. He's always sweating through his shirt. He's always creating some chaos on the sideline. He's as passionate as it can get. And so my introduction to Bruce, as far as like, I really remember sitting there in the living room watching him and everything, about 2016, 2017. But looks like we've got some other answers rolling in here, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, talking again, the shirtless at the Lady Vols games, that was obviously one that, a lot of people probably remember. For me too, I think going back just to the Milwaukee days, how did he get to the Tennessee jobs? Because all the success he had at Milwaukee. And Josh brings up he was in college at UT when Bruce was there, amazing on campus with the students, tons of energy. And again, yes, like I mentioned earlier, just so good with Pat Summitt. I think this is a game a lot of people remember, as Josh notes, the Tennessee versus Memphis 1-2 game. That was just, again, I think it's kind of hard to forget, especially if you're looking at it from a Tennessee fan standpoint. And Eddie brings up, when Pearl was the D2 coach at Southern Indiana and was a student at Northern Kentucky, and you'd have some of those games. And I think that was kind of something that you look at there. And I mean, I think if you transition that to Auburn, and don't worry, guys, we will get to this season. We are doing more of the historical look right now. I know everyone wants to talk about this season. What does it mean? I promise we will get to that. Don't worry. But if you're going to wrap this up from like a historical perspective, I did the stat at one point, and I probably have it somewhere. Of course, I wasn't expecting to be doing the stream today. But I probably have the stat somewhere of Auburn's record prior to Bruce Pearl, the previous however many seasons or whatever, versus what it became, the next 5 seasons or whatever it was. And so I think that is kind of something too, when you look at basically what they were able to achieve when they had that first just huge breakthrough, right? And trust me, I know you can look at the 2016-17 season and say, well, those Vins were what? How many did they vacate? Like 12 wins or something like that. But like you then start to see the 26 wins in 2018. They go 30-10, make the Final Four, should have been in the national championship game, there in 2019. I think a lot of people forget, Max, like look at where they were when the tournament was canceled, right? That's a 25-win team in 2020. There's no tournament. They take a step back the next year, but then from there, what happens? 26-6, 21-13, 27-8, and then 32-6, and back to another Final Four. I think you have to remember the context. It's not just a guy coaching in the SEC and getting them to the Final Four. Sorry, Auburn fans. It's a guy that was coaching at Auburn, where the basketball program had completely bottomed out. And then, all of a sudden, they became one of the standards for SEC basketball. And I know Auburn fans understand it and appreciate it, but I hope people outside of it understand how difficult of a task that was going to be, given where that Auburn program was when he first took over in 2014. So.
Not only that, but he turns Neville into an absolute nightmare. Home court advantage, one of the best. I don't know if I'd say the absolute best, but my gosh, past few years, guys, you're talking top 5 nationally, home court advantage. Chris.
Hey. Good to join you guys again. I look forward to that. I hate that this is the circumstance, but yeah, I shouldn't be stunned. I know you guys aren't, and I've heard other places talk about Bruce Pearl doing something like this. If you followed him on Twitter, he was very vocal about his politics and very passionate about those things. Bruce Pearl, when he is passionate about something, he doesn't really hold much back. So I guess I can't say I'm shocked in hindsight, but in the moment I was.
Well, I want to add in real quickly, too. So I know there was a lot on the Senate run and everything. So apparently, because we can't get the audio to play, he did address that and say that that's not a thing.
Oh,
So I'll read it right here from Phil to 68. Many of you know that I thought about running for U.S. Senate. That would have required leaving Auburn. Instead, the university has given me an opportunity to stay here and be Auburn's senator as an ambassador at Auburn. So he's going to be a senator. He's going to be the Auburn Tigers senator. And then Jeff Goodman tweeted out, Bruce Pearl been contemplating a Senate run all offseason, telling him in July he had gone back and forth about it, but basically kind of saying, it sounds like, based on this video, does not plan on running for that soon-to-be vacant seat there. Okay. So, notable. So, I mean, again, hell, if that's the fallout here, and you still get Bruce Pearl at Auburn, that's a huge win for Auburn, because we were just talking about it a minute ago, Max. Like, it's the promotion aspect. Yeah, it's
right.
Big Brother Brett says it's the Nick Saban thing, right? It's the Nick Saban effect. And if you've got that, then I don't think everyone shouldn't be saying, oh, this is the fall off. Everyone's going to be done. Auburn basketball, it's over. I don't think so, folks.
You know, you guys hit the nail on the head. When I jumped in, I was thinking something. And look, Blake and I, you and I have been going to SEC tournaments when, at least I have, since Max Barr was like in diapers. And like, there's two kinds of rebuilds that you take over at this level, right? And one of them is like, let's say Louisville, where there's like this immense passion and history around basketball, but it's gone wrong for whatever reason, bad coaches, whatever. And then there's Auburn, where you used to go to SEC. Just imagine like Georgia last couple of years, passion for basketball, where it got under Tom Crean. That's what I'm trying to say. And that was Auburn. Like, you would go to tournaments and the fans in the stands would probably be related to coaches and players. There just was no interest. And it took him a while. I remember being at a game at Vanderbilt and walking down the hall in Nashville after Vanderbilt just clocked him. And you can hear Bruce Pearl basically peeling the paint off the walls. And they were a couple of years in and it was not going well. And I'm just thinking this may never go well, other than little spells here and there under Cliff Ellis and maybe with Charles Barkley and Chuck Person. There had never been any consistency. Not only did Bruce Pearl win, he won in a way that got people excited. Like, I thought Bruce Pearl was a good enough coach to win games there, but I didn't know if people would care. Getting the level of passion in Auburn basketball that he brought might be even more impressive than the win-loss record.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to what Max.
Home court.
Yeah, the home court advantage.
Home court.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one of the biggest reasons for their success. I mean, there's no question. Like, it takes a lot, but I think, I mean, that was just such a huge asset for them to be able to know that anytime someone was walking in the gym, didn't matter who it was, they had an advantage just because they had built up the fan base. And I always joked, like, everybody out there used to tell me that there are no Auburn basketball fans, there are no Alabama basketball fans. When I started doing this and whatever, 16, 17, like really doing SEC basketball stuff year round, like nobody else was doing at the time. Everybody just was like, yeah, come on, like, go get your Kentucky fans, your Arkansas fans, Tennessee, all that. But they're like, come on, you're not going to get anybody from Auburn. That's all I had was Auburn, Alabama fans. Mm-hmm. They're like, give me more. Like, just give me as much as you can possibly give me, because, at the time, too, I guess Avery Johnson was probably at Alabama. Then, of course, Nate Oates came in, took it to another level. But when Bruce Pearl was there, man, they were itching at that time, because some people did see it. Even after the first couple of years and it was a struggle, some people still said, all right, I can see where this is headed. They're going to turn this thing around. And so, I mean, like, I think the passion has been undeniable when it comes to, those fans there at Auburn. So, but that, again, I mean, if you look at just the overall body of work, to get Auburn to 2 Final Fours in that time span, I mean, I think I hope people understand how difficult that was. Like, when he first took the job, to look up this many years later and say he got to 2 Final Fours, could have been playing for a national championship in both instances. Like, that just was not going to ever be an easy thing to do. And I said, we probably had somebody ask us in a live stream or a mailbag or something not long ago, if you had to pick one coach in the SEC, and you're rolling with that guy, I think my answer has always been Bruce Pearl, and I've just said for a variety of reasons in terms of orchestrating a turnaround of a program and all the other aspects I think that you need to be successful. Yeah, I mean, he's always been right there in that top argument at number one for me. So, but
now my question goes, what does ambassador's role for the university mean? What is this going to entail when we're talking about implications to this upcoming year's roster? Because this has a pretty big impact on my outlook of the Tigers heading into the season.
All right, so Shane asked this earlier, okay? Let's pull this up. So he said, does this mess with Auburn's power ranking? So if we had to project Auburn now looking ahead, okay? Max, all summer we've kind of had Auburn in that, I'd say 4 to 6 range, which I know a lot of people at times was like, that's too low. Come on, it's Auburn. We feel like there's a lot of pieces missing from last year. We understand that. They got to replace some guys. But that felt about right to us, 4 to 6, all right? Because they're in there in that tier, I think, of teams that you still have a few questions. You don't have a ton of questions, but you have a few questions about. And so, the 30-day player transfer, all that, I know I've seen some people saying it's not going to happen, no one's going to transfer, and that may be the case, honestly. Could be. We don't know. But let's also not kid ourselves and act like they're not going to be people trying to get some guys. And so that's the biggest unknown, right? That's the thing you're trying to figure out. But I think, as we talked about earlier, the timing, if there was going to be a season, you're going to kind of go out and see what you have. This team was going to be a lot different than last year's team.
Yep.
And we knew that going in. We knew they had a proven commodity in Tahad Pettiford returning after a standout freshman season. We knew they were bringing in the 2 Kishans. And beyond that, we're like, hey, I think it's fair to look and say, all right, what's this guy's role going to be? What's that guy's role going to be? And, I think that was always going to be the case going into the season. And now, without the guy on the sidelines that has been able to lead them to unprecedented success, it's absolutely fair to question exactly what this is going to look like heading into next season. So,
yeah, what a way to go out, too. I mean, tournaments are crapshoots, but like last year, man, Auburn was like we spent what? We needed a couple weeks to kind of sort things out. And then when they have the fight on the plane, they go to Houston, they win that game. We're like, okay, we know who the top team is in the conference right now. Like, it wasn't until mid-March, or excuse me, probably mid-February, that Auburn's heater stopped and they started to look mortal. I mean, that was 3 full months where Auburn was playing elite basketball. Then they went through that spell where they were a little bit more mortal, and then they got to the to postseason, turned it on again, made a Final Four. Like, I think of all the stuff that Bruce Pearl did, I would argue that might have been his most impressive season. And also, let's not forget, and I know you guys probably talked about it, I didn't see the first 20 minutes because we were recording football stuff. So my apologies if we're unpacking things that you went through. But the job at Tennessee, where that program was in an awful shape, I think, Blake, was that post Buzz Peterson? Was he the coach right before Pearl at Tennessee?
That sounds right. I'd have to.
Yeah.
Josh will tell us.
Like, and that team ended up winning the SEC. And I get the SEC wasn't as good as it was then, but like seeing Tennessee have that kind of year that it had his first year, there was nowhere on my radar. I mean, so that's 2 places he took jobs and just did. I don't know that I would call it a miracle at Tennessee, because Tennessee's had plenty of success, but like he did this twice now under very different circumstances.
Yeah. Let's get to. Go ahead, Matt.
I got one thought here on Steven real quick. I don't think I'm going to overreact too much power rankings wise. However, that first game, Blake, Sunday, November 16th, that first big one, that big Houston game, I'm not saying preseason-wise, I'm going to overreact too much. However, after the first test, I will 1,000% overreact. I might 10,000% overreact. I think I'm going to hold ground for right now and trust that this was the plan all along. But I'm telling you right now, if there is some shakiness in that Houston game, that second week of November, I am backtracking as fast as I've ever backtracked.
You are going to single-handedly move the Auburn National Championship betting on over to our friends at FanDuel, one way or the other. They're plus 4,000 right now. I'm going to assume that hasn't shifted. I think that was where they were because Tennessee's at plus 4,000 too. I feel like we've mentioned them in the same. So there's no movement right now. Maybe worth noting if you're an Auburn fan, don't bet on it right this second. Wait for that baby to fall because I guarantee you it's going to drop. So just give it a little wait. If you think Auburn's going to win the national championship this upcoming season, you'll get a better number, I promise. But I think it's gonna be something like that where there will be a lot of. I said it's a comfortable transition to go from Bruce to Steven, but it's also a very pressure-packed situation. And I think there's no question about that. Like, it is going to be one where now that you've established this baseline for success at Auburn, I don't think Auburn fans are going to sit there and want to be patient, right? I think they're going to want to keep winning and win some more and keep winning because why? Look at what Alabama's doing. Look at what everybody, it's just we're not expecting, as long as Nate Oates is there, Alabama's not falling off. As long as, insert coach here is at these other places, they're not falling off, right? So I think, that's kind of the expectation. And I'll get to some of these super chats that Josh had earlier. Josh 499 here on the super chat with Pro retiring. Barnes not far off. Sets up nicely for Todd Golden and Mark Pope to kind of run the SEC moving forward, he says. I would not leave Nate Oates out of that equation. But I think there are a couple other options as well. But it's a good point, right? Like, you are seeing a situation where it's kind of the changing. And, when does Cal retire, right? And look, we've seen it, guys. I mean, this is not an SEC thing here. Roy Williams, Coach K, Jay Wright, like, we just keep going down the line. This is an era, and I don't think this really applies to Bruce necessarily because I feel like, he got used to it. I mean, it's a guy that, they brought in transfers. They had a lot of success, but it is such a different era where you're dealing with NIL, you're dealing with, transfers and all that. It's a different game than when he was coaching at Tennessee or Milwaukee or whatever. And so I'm sure there are more challenges that come along with it. And so it's the pressure-packed situation no matter how the transition looks because I think Auburn fans, they want to keep winning. And it does kind of shake up the hierarchy in the SEC in terms of the coaching. Josh had another $4.99 super chat. Looking back at Pearl being fired at UT, so comical now. Yeah, I mean, of course it is. He would have 100% won a national championship at UT, maybe multiple. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt he would have probably been able to achieve the same or more success just as he did at Auburn based on, again, having multiple Final Four runs and all of that. And then Wes here on the $10 super chat. We're catching up on these. We'll get back to you guys in a second. Believe in Stephen Pearl as coach. He and Golden cut from the same cloth. Remember, Golden was there with Bruce for a bit. But Stephen Pearl, a defensive-minded guy, and he makes a good point, I think, keeping Mike Burgomaster as their offensive coordinator, basically, is very crucial, I think, because he has also been a big part of their success there, and Bruce has noted as much. I mean, he said that in the interview we did with him earlier this year during last season. So, yeah, we appreciate the super chats, guys. Keep them coming. If you want to make sure we get to your comments here on this emergency stream, Bruce Pearl retiring as Auburn head coach, and we will continue to get to some of your questions and comments here. Let me see if we need to catch up on some other things we had. Yeah, Chris, I know Chris was in the mailbag we did last week, and he's like, wait a second, I remember you guys mentioning it was on the table. Did not think it would be this fast. Us either, Chris. We did not expect to be this fast. We were sold on the idea it was going to happen soon, but I don't think Max and we're not going to sit here and lie and tell you we thought it was happening this week by any means. So, and then Zach P., intro to Bruce, my freshman year at Auburn. Bruce came through the library during midterms with a Krispy Kreme donuts, with telling everybody they were going to ace their exams. Fun times. Yeah, I always appreciate anyone who's bringing a nice box of Krispy Kremes. So,
You got to think this is going to put a little bit more pressure on Tahad, just a little bit. He's the guy. He's going to be the guy with the ball in his hands, when it needs to be. I don't know. Maybe Magwood steps up and is, kind of a Tahad of last year. An athletic freshman that outperforms what we expected. But you got to think that the pressure on Tahad now to be an absolute first teamer, to step into some of the roles that they had last year. I would imagine that temperature is rising pretty quickly.
Guys, here's my question, and I looked this up because Todd Golden is 40. Stephen Pearl is 38. That does make him the youngest coach in the league, right? When's the last time we had an SEC head coach in his 30s?
Todd Golden.
I guess that was
last year.
Right there in front of me, wasn't it? All right. All right. Forget Todd Golden exists,
listen,
which you almost did.
I usually don't get your Q&As right, so I had to proudly respond with Todd Golden on that one, because usually I get all your pop quizzes wrong because you're having me do all kinds of stuff with those things, but this one, I got it this time.
You gotta start joining us more, Chris.
You're a sharp guy, Blake Lovell.
I got you on that one.
Before Todd Golden, who was the youngest coach in the league?
Will Wade, maybe?
Wade was.
Well, Wade's not that old, man.
Yeah, he would. I think he would have been in his 30s at LSU.
Yeah, he's 42 now, so he would have been mid-30s when he started at LSU. Yeah.
So it's not unprecedented. Darren Horn was, I guess he was in his 30s.
Got to be Will Wade is the most recent one. Yeah, no question.
You're welcome for that display of brilliance.
Everyone is weighing in on the excitement here. I agree. I thought this was very well executed on my part.
I'm just trying to make you look good, Blake.
Any other questions you have? You can come on anytime, Chris. Now, just come on anytime you want. Ask me questions, just the ones that I know the answer to ahead of time, and this will be a very seamless transition. But I don't remember the answer to this one, Josh.
Donovan was in his 40s. He's 60 now. He started when?
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Will Wade, do you guys know who Auburn plays in the ACC SEC Challenge?
Oh,
yeah, that's right. So,
fiery matchup there. Young Stephen Pearl trying to make a statement.
Yeah, I could see those two going after each other.
That's in Neville.
I like it. So, but I mean, yeah, it's going to be different. Like, let's not try to sugarcoat it. And I know, like, from the Auburn standpoint, you're going to say, hey, we're carrying over the legacy. It's just going to go straight to Stephen here, and here's a guy who has been an integral part of our success, which is absolutely true. I mean, Stephen's played a huge role in the recruiting and some guys they've been able to get there that have won them a lot of games, given them a lot of success. A guy that, again, I think from an X's and O's standpoint, you look at the defensive aspect and all those things. So yeah, I mean, it's just different though. And that's like we said at the start, like Bruce Pearl, one of the most unique figures I can remember in college basketball in terms of he had the it factor, whatever you want to incorporate into that. It's just all the things that I think you needed to be successful in this era, being able to adapt to certain things. And the guys mentioned earlier in the comments, like, I don't think you can ever take for granted the fact that it's great to be the guy who can just coach basketball, but you have to be the guy that can come in and re-energize an entire school. And how many times did the guy do that? Every single place he went, he made basketball the it thing. Now, I'm not saying that people don't care about football at Tennessee and Auburn and all that, but like the height of when it comes to what they were able to achieve and in terms of getting eyeballs on the program, like we mentioned earlier, I know Chris remembers the 1-2 Tennessee-Memphis, like how many big games Auburn had throughout the year. I mean, think about Auburn and Alabama every single year in basketball now. It was always a big game for both fan bases, no doubt. But the impact of having Bruce Pearl as the Auburn coach, Nate Oates as the Alabama coach, just an unbelievable – I mean, what? It was 1-2 last year, right? Was that right? Wasn't it 1-2 last year? Yeah. So, I mean, you're not going to be able to replace that. I don't care who's stepping in. What they say is the hardest thing to do is always to step into a great man's shoes. Don't ever do that because that's the toughest situation you can be in. But I'd like to be optimistic though and think that if there's someone that can do it, his son and the guy who's seen him have all this success and has been right there side by side, he will have every opportunity to succeed at Auburn. No question.
Blake, does Alabama basketball become what it becomes if Bruce Pearl isn't at Auburn?
That's a fair question. And I know some people have knocked that and have been like, Alabama would still, I don't know. Like, I think, and again, we're always going to mention the two in the same discussion, whether anybody wants to or not, because they have an impact on the other. And I think that Bruce Pearl absolutely made an impact on that because it's the rivalry, it's the success, and it's taking what was a dormant entity in Auburn basketball that was at the bottom about as bad as it could be and just changing it to something to where, all right, well, now we're chasing after those. And I mean, how many SEC programs did Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates change over the past 6 years, right? Because everybody's chasing these guys and trying to be able to sustain the same sort of, and so that your coaching hires elsewhere, how important it is, because you're looking up and you're adding those two guys in when you say, hey, we'd have to win in the SEC, but boy, you got to do it against, all of these coaches, and those two are always going to be on the list. You got to do it against Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl, Rick Barnes, and keep going, right? Cal, and on down the line. So, two of the best, Bruce, one of the best, I think that we've seen, and the level of success they achieved, I'm telling you, I know there are people who are going to be like, well, come on, you could have brought in Coach A, B, C, D, E, and they would have done the same thing. Absolutely not. It needed to be the right person with the right skill set, and especially the sort of aura. I know someone said that a minute ago, unmatched. That's it. Like, having the aura, but also having being able to back it up. And he did that. So,
what would you say your main concern would be for this season? Because when you're looking at it, like if Burgo is still there running the offense, if Steven was really running the ship on the defense the past few years, not too worried about that. Recruiting wise, that could, there's a question mark. And then the other would just be like you said, kind of just being the captain of the ship for the whole season, leading the men. Because I would, with the assistants still there and how Auburn kind of runs their system, coordinator, right? He calls Burgo his offensive coordinator. With those guys still there, I still have a ton of confidence in the system. So it turns to other things. What other things would be of main concern? Mine probably would be like, okay, if you do, play Houston in the second week in November and you get kind of stomped by one of the best teams in the country, how do you respond? That's where my main question would be like the, aura or whatever you want to call it of the, the leader that Bruce was.
Depth. If guys transfer out, like that would be one question I think is, does the depth become, I don't say an issue, but that
raises
something
concern.
worth noting. Yeah, if a couple unexpected transfers happen or something, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to comment and be like, no one's leaving and all that, and maybe it will be the case, but we can never say never in this era. We just can't. So I think that would be something to look at maybe. But other than that, I mean, I think it comes down to situational stuff.
Yeah.
Because again, it's different being in this chair versus that chair. And I think it's when you get in those games where it's a 2-point game with a minute to go.
Yep.
Pushing the right buttons. What the hell am I talking about? Buttons. I was reading something from Josh, and I combined the words in my head with Josh's words, and it didn't go well. Josh says in-game adjustments, and I think I would put that on there. Because it's not that I'm saying that I don't think Stephen Pearl could do it. It's just we've not seen that. Other than what? I mean, didn't he have to coach a couple games? Did Bruce was there ones he had to sit out? I'm trying to remember.
There was something.
But it's been a while, right? I don't remember. It all runs together. So, but yeah, that would probably be me. In-game adjustments and does your depth take a hit if you have a guy or two leave and unexpectedly or something like that? That's probably, but because look, like I said, we were among those who had more questions about Auburn, I think, in the offseason than maybe some other people had. And that's, I think, 1-0. So Stevens 1-0. Who was that? West Magnolia. I forgot.
He's
Who
undefeated.
that was. I just don't remember. I know it happened, but Chris, what's your answer to that?
I think you got it right.
Todd Golden.
I was reading the comments and somebody asked. This is what had my attention. If it goes sideways with Steven, is Auburn a bottom feeder in 2 years? I mean, look, that's very possible. I mean, look, Oklahoma was the 14th best team in the league last year, right? And made the tournament. I don't think Auburn basketball bottoms out, but you just lost a Hall of Fame level coach in a league where everybody pretty much cares about basketball now. So in a place where the margins aren't big, I think that seems a little pessimistic, but he was a big part of their edge. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Regardless of coaching change at all, last year you had a top 2 player in the nation who just happened to be a center also. This year you don't have that top 2 player in the nation, regardless of coaching change. That was going to, even if Bruce was the coach still, it was already going to be an adjustment. It was going to be the first time you're playing without a Janai Broom in years. So it would, no matter what, it was going to be an adjustment. Now it's just kind of even a bigger one.
Here's the thing. I know people, and again, everyone's going to have different opinion, but I don't think you can discount just what it means to get players. I think Auburn's still going to get players. I don't think, folks, they're going to all of a sudden forget how to go out and get top players. And I know it's different because you're playing for an unproven coach versus one of the best we've seen in the SEC historically. But I think they're still going to be okay getting some guys. And they got some NIL to be able to do it. If that falls off, then you got a problem. But I think they're going to be okay getting some players.
You don't think people would stop donating to NIL now because of this, would you?
Well, if you start losing. Then all of a sudden, maybe I spend my money elsewhere. Unfortunately, I wish I had that same thought when it came to betting, but it doesn't. I just keep on going. I just keep supporting the bad, outcomes. But yeah. So I don't know. I think that's something to look at. By the way, I know this whole butt mint thing is going to become a thing, folks. All right, we'll see if we can find a sponsor. Butt mints. Have the freshest ass in town.
Oh God.
But everybody's asking about the butt mints. But yeah, look, here's a good point. They are. Boosters are fickle, Max Barr. You never know.
All right.
You never know.
Well, am I considered a booster because I bought a Janai Broom Final Four NIL store shirt?
Yeah, you did. By the way, North Alabama 2021 Auburn won 77-41. So right now, Stephen Pearl has one of the best win margins of any coach in SEC history in terms of
incredible. No wonder they made it versus
higher. Yeah. So, geez, this will become a thing. We're gonna have to get a sponsor. There's got to be one out there,
of course.
Maybe not in the field we're looking for, but all right, you guys. We're gonna go with like a 5-minute warning here. We're gonna hop off. It's a very busy football day, as you know. But Donovan's gonna be absolutely terrified for the next 30 days. Donovan's gonna say, please don't let Southeastern 16 have a live stream notification. Auburn loses entire basketball roster. What's next? Donovan, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. So
I was just thinking, like when the SEC Shorts guys do their videos, they usually do them on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like Monday would have been, like if they did it this afternoon. That could have been an all-timer after the football weekend.
Yeah, so I knew this. I knew if there was going to be somebody else that came in, not okay. King of the North, Bruce Pearl here. Not okay. Not okay. And, yeah, probably. By the way, this comment from Big Baller Brett, I'm going to pull it up just because I see a little bit of humor in it. but it says Auburn basketball recruiting will be fine whenever the boosters turn on Hugh Freeze again. So, yeah, that may be true. All right, quickly, super chat, $2 from Zach. Gonna miss Bruce.
Zach.
All-timer Zach is here at the channel. Steven time now. It's correct. Justin wants the updated coach power rankings. $2 super chat from Justin. Yeah, I mean, who would I put at my number one now? Because I don't remember who you guys put when we did them. But
well, there's only one coach that's undefeated in the SEC. So,
well, that's a good point. I don't know. What do you think that may be something we do here? Well, now Max and I are we're gonna have the fallout probably on Wednesday in our live show. So
yeah,
we'll come up with something. But yeah, so
you know what would make me feel it would just warm my heart up is if we just got like Bruce comes out with like one more 1 minute video, like, oh my gosh, I almost forgot, we're bringing on a new assistant coach. And he opens the door and Dylan Cardwell walks through the door and is just going nuts. It would warm my heart. Yeah. Where is he?
Oh, my guy, Dylan Cardwell. Put that guy on staff, and you're not going anywhere in the SEC standings. Yep. I'll tell you that.
Would be something.
Chris, any additional thoughts before we head out of here?
No, I'm going to miss Bruce Pearl, though. I mean, I really am. It was a lot of fun to watch him, a lot of fun to watch his teams. They did something I thought was next to impossible, which is make Auburn basketball consistently relevant and entertaining. He's one of the greatest coaches who's ever coached in this league. I think if he made the Hall of Fame one day, I would be fine with that. I do hate it. I do hate it for us. And just for this, the SEC was a more fun league with Bruce Pearl in it.
By the way, Stephen Pearl's deal is for 5 years. So,
whoa,
woo, that's a deal right there. So worth noting on that. But I know I've seen some people talk about how players can't enroll anywhere else if they transfer out until the spring. You guys have to give me some clarification on that. These rules change all the time. I don't remember what we're working with these days, but
I'm not fluent in coach contracts, but 5 years, is that not
he's never been a head coach?
Yeah, I was gonna say, woo.
That's a lot. Yeah. I mean, here's if you're looking at it from Auburn's perspective, your guy Bruce Pearl just retired. The timing could not have been worse if you're looking at it from the outside. Timing could not have been better, I think, for Bruce Pearl and Stephen Pearl in terms of they've probably known this has been in the works for a while. You've been able to prepare your off season as such, and all that. But I don't know. It is that's a commitment. If you wanted a commitment, hey, that's a commitment. So
all right, let's do it.
But I think Tyler brings a good point too. Like I don't know that it's that. Like they wouldn't have given him like a 2-year deal or anything. That wasn't going to happen. So 4 or 5 probably I don't think would have been just absurd. It's a lot, but like I don't think it's just an absurd thing. Because remember too, folks, people sign long-term contracts all the time. And no school will hesitate to make decisions if the success isn't there. And so, and a good point here too by SC Scout Guy. For recruiting wise, you want to have a little bit of a higher number too.
This is why we have you guys here.
Yeah.
The other weird dynamic is he is by far the youngest guy on that staff of the assistants.
Interesting.
But I think he's probably the guy who's been in the position to be the next guy, though, right? And I think they've known that for a while.
Who is considered their best recruiter on that staff?
I mean, he plays a big role. I think everyone on that staff does a good job with recruiting. So,
what if Auburn goes and wins a national championship, and then the question is, wow, was Bruce holding Auburn back and Steven is really the mastermind this entire time? We're not asking the real questions here, guys.
Yeah, good call here. Like, yeah, Ira does a good job.
Yep.
But yeah, I think again, I don't want to discount Steven's efforts though too. I think he does okay there. All right, we're out of here. yeah, Bruce Pearl wants a job at Southeastern 16. It may be true. Who knows? Maybe you guys didn't realize that we're part of this whole deal. Did he announce it at the end of the video? We told him to. But
He didn't deny it.
He didn't say he wasn't coming here. So, yeah, everybody wants Sanders Logistics and all that. There's no moving required. Bruce is staying at Auburn. Stephen Pearl doesn't have to move. Everybody gets to stay. Stay there. And by the way, I know Big Baller Brett's struggling. The Jaleel Bethea injury. Oh, Max and I were texting about that. Brutal. Brutal.
Not ideal.
Sanders Logistics. No one at Auburn needs to move right now. So, no efficient, hassle-free moving needed. It's going to be just fine. So, all right. We're out of here. Continue to leave your thoughts, comments. We'll talk more about this. Max and I go live on Wednesday, as usual for SEC basketball. I'm sure we'll be talking a bit about this more, the fallout from it. Backcourt rankings coming up, too. Will Auburn be in there? We'll find out. $5 here from WrestleMania, which I realize now saying that. It's a great way to say it because it sounds just like WrestleMania. Says, quote, no school will hesitate to make decisions if the results aren't there, unless your AD is Mitch Barnhart. Boom! On the way out, mic drop from WrestleMania. We're out of here.
All right.
Chris, do you remember how to do this thing at the end?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was heat up for me or you were going to do it. But yeah.
We got to get back into the swing of things.
We do. I've missed this, guys. It's been fun to be back. So, yeah, hey, thank you guys for watching. God bless you. And thank you for watching Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel.